Hey everybody, it is Gordon Majak here, back with another episode of Timeless Pop, Rock, and Soul on a Wednesday afternoon. And today we are going to go back to early 1971 for what I think is just a classic example for me personally, and you guys can see if it applies to you. A classic example of how our awareness and our appreciation and our understanding for a given song can grow and evolve and change and deepen over time. This is just one of those exhibit A performances for that phenomenon, and thank God for that wonderful phenomenon, right? So I'll tell you the backstory really quick, and then we'll hear this incredible piece of music from February of 1971 and her debut album. It is the great Carly Simon. And her first big hit, That's the Way I've Always Heard It Should Be. Now, this, as I said, was her first single out of the gate. Carly Simon gets this song all the way up to number 10 on the pop chart. That's quite a performance for your first time out. Number 10 on the pop chart, number 6 on the adult contemporary chart. Big hit right out of the box for Carly Simon in her career, right? Well, so I would have been, let's see, I would have been about 13 years old when this song is out and being played on the radio. And of course, I was tuned in, so to speak, to the radio all the time, hearing all the music. I knew all the music that was on the charts and on the various radio stations, right? And here's my very limited, at that time, 13-year-old understanding of this song. I knew three things. I knew Carly Simon's name. I knew who she was. I knew that this was her song. I connected her to this song eventually after hearing it a few times. And I knew what she looked like because I had either seen her on TV or seen a picture of her album cover, or maybe this single cover. I don't know. I had seen a picture of her. So I knew who she was and I knew what she looked like. I knew she was hot. And I knew this much only about this song. All I knew of this song was, all I could conjure in my head was that great hook, that great melodic, dramatic hook in the chorus, the big explosion in the chorus there. That's the way I've always heard it should be. And it just always had that real epic anthem feel to me. And I always loved that chorus. And I loved her voice. I just always thought Carly Simon had such a cool voice. Her tone is just so beautiful and so rich and so unique and so distinctly her. And again, as a vocalist, we get into that thing where we talk about not only is she blessed with such a unique and personal gift with that voice itself, but it's the way she uses it, and she knows how to move her voice around. And when she's singing from her gut or singing from her throat or in her head voice, it doesn't matter, the way she moves her voice around, and just is always able to conjure up so much feeling and so much emotion and so much color in her beautiful vocals. So I always loved Carly Simon's voice. But as far as the song goes, all I really knew and all I really connected to, my understanding of it was pretty shallow. I just knew that hook in the chorus. That's when, like I said, I'm 13, 14 years old when she's getting started there in the early 70s, right? And you fast forward, so that would have been sort of my ongoing perception of this song. I knew I liked it. I knew, and she kept coming out with, hit after hit after hit, right? So my overall impression of Carly Simon kept growing as she kept releasing one hit song after the other. But just specific to this song, the real depth of my understanding, and it's no depth at all, was just that hook and knowing who she was and knowing what she looked like. Well, you fast forward about 10 years, and now we're going to go, let's say, from 1971, let's say early to mid 80s, maybe a little bit more than 10 years. And I was no longer 13, obviously. Now I was in my early to mid 20s, and I was married myself all those years later. And I think it was when my best guess is that it would have been in the early mid 80s there, and maybe it was when CDs came out, and I bought because I don't think I had individual Carly Simon albums. I think I always had either her greatest hits album, and I knew all the songs on that greatest hits album, or I had, maybe it was in the CD era when her greatest hits first came out on CD. And by then I would have had a really great stereo system in my house because I was working at AEI and everything. So I had a great stereo setup. And I think that's when the CD came out, and I was playing that CD. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, on her greatest hits CD, the first round of them back there in the 80s, this song was the first song on the album. And man, the sound of this song just exploded out of those speakers. And I couldn't believe that there was so much more to the song than what I had previously just sort of confined myself to, which was my understanding and my awareness just of that chorus, right? And that great anthem in the chorus that she sings. But hearing it on CD all those years later, combined with the fact that I myself was now no longer a teenager, but now a grown adult man and actually in a marriage myself, and the song hit me in such a completely different way. And for the first time, my awareness was not just limited to the great hook in the chorus, in that big anthem and that big buildup. My awareness expanded to include the verses and the lyrics in the verses, the lyrics that get us to that point of that big anthem in the chorus, right? And when I can't even describe it, but just being at such a different stage of my life and hearing those vocals, it was like hearing those vocals in the verses and hearing what she was actually saying in the verses. It was like hearing it for the first time, and the light bulb just going on. And being an older person, and as I said, being married myself, I was like, oh my God, wow, I never had any idea that there was that much. I knew there was always the buildup and the drama and all that tension in the song, but I never really grasped the depth of it and how intimate and how personal some of those lyrics were. The lyrics of this song, not written by Carly Simon, surprisingly. I always thought that she had written the lyrics of the song, but it was actually her songwriting partner there from the old days, Jacob Brackman, who wrote the lyrics, and Carly wrote the music. And man, it's just such an incredible package, because you have these lyrics that are just so bare to the bones, honest, and just blunt about the nature of some relationships and marriages, etc., etc. And then you have this incredible, such a dramatic, such a mature and seasoned arrangement that Carly Simon puts together and the music that she writes. And then you add that vocal on top, where her voice is just, man, she just turns up all the drama and all the emotion in that vocal. And always loved the song, but really did not get the song until I was old enough to actually have some miles on the tread in my life, as it were, and to understand the implications of some of those lyrics. And that's when my appreciation for not only Carly Simon in general, but for this song in particular, just went through the roof. And it's been one of my very favorites ever since that day, back there in the 80s, and the CDs and a great sound system. Man, cranked that up, and I got my attention for the first time, and I never forgot. I was just looking at that list of songs. Carly Simon, I mean, this is her first single. This is the kind of song that artists work and strive and sweat their whole freaking career to do one song that's this good. And this is the first single of her freaking career. She just drops this right out of the gate as a brand new artist. Oh, she won the Grammy for Best New Artist that year. There's a shocker, not... wow, from her self-titled debut album, February of 1971. But listen to this. She just reels this off. This is the beginning of Carly Simon's career. It starts with this huge hit here. That's the way I've always heard it should be. Also in 1971, she follows it up with the title track of her next album, Anticipation, just another legendary track. Follows that up the following year with Legend in Your Own Time. What a great song. I may play that one on the channel at some point. Love that one. Follows that one up, with, of course, with the ultimate iconic signature Carly Simon song, You're So Vain, from the No Secrets album. That's 1972. 1973, it's The Right Thing to Do. Another monster hit, just a classic. Every note, absolute perfection on all of these songs. All of these songs are the kinds of songs that if artists can do this once, they've accomplished something amazing. And she's just doing it one after the other here. Finally there, how about in 1974? Haven't Got Time for the Pain. Another freaking classic. So Carly Simon just comes out absolutely on fire, and such a unique sound back there in early 1971 with That's the Way I've Always Heard It Should Be. And now we can hear it and enjoy it and appreciate it and treasure it in all its glory. Can't believe it. All I knew was the hook. Can you believe that? Unbelievable. Okay, Carly, you ready? Let's do this, people. Pay attention to these lyrics now. Ooh, there's some drama going on.
My father sits at night with no lights on. His cigarette glows in the dark. The living room is still. I walk by, no remark. I tiptoe past the master bedroom where my mother reads her magazines. I hear her call sweet dreams, but I forget how to dream. But you say it's time we moved in together, raised a family of our own, you and me. Well, that's the way I've always heard it should be. You want to marry me, we'll marry. My friends from college, they're all married now. They have their houses and their lives. They have their silent noons, tearful nights, angry dawns. Their children hate them for the things they're not. They hate themselves for what they are. And yet they drink, they laugh, close the wound, hide the scar. But you say it's time we moved in together, raised a family of our own, you and me. Well, that's the way I've always heard it should be. You want to marry me, we'll marry. You say that we can keep our love alive. Babe, all I know is what I see. The couples cling and claw and drown in love's debris. We say we soar like two birds through the clouds, and soon you'll cage me on your shelf. I'll never learn to be just me first by myself. Well, okay, it's time we moved in together and raised a family of our own, you and me. Well, that's the way I've always heard
Wow.
Just one big freaking wow. Carly Simon and that voice, her voice just rings. There's just that ringing quality to it on some of those notes that she hits, and she turns up the volume. It's like we always talked about with Linda Ronstadt and so many of the other great vocalists. They just know when to turn the volume up the tiniest bit and really push it. And oh my God, when Carly Simon hits those notes just right, damn! And then you take the lyrics, put that on top of it. Quite a combination there for Carly Simon. As I said, she starts her career just absolutely on fire, one great song after another. And here's what I will say about this song all these years later now. That's the way I've always heard it should be. I think this song is one of the three of the Holy Trinity, what I call the Holy Trinity of early 70s singer-songwriter music, and along with James Taylor's Fire and Rain, which came out the summer before Carly Simon released her first single. Fire and Rain was from August of 1970 for James Taylor. That's just truly one of the iconic and has to be one of the Holy Trinity of singer-songwriter songs from that era right there. And the other one that I think is in that conversation is, of course, Carole King's It's Too Late, which came out right around the same time as the Carly Simon record. So imagine back there in 1971, this is why I always tell you folks that it was just such an embarrassment of riches. I mean, these songs are on the radio at the same time. You're hearing a song as iconic and classic and legendary and just exquisite as Carole King's It's Too Late. It does not come any better than that in the early 70s or really any other time. And you've got Carly Simon, that's the way I've always heard it should be, James Taylor, Fire and Rain. To me, I always put those three songs together. No, I'm not saying that there aren't other, just, of course, incredible, great singer-songwriter performances that came out back then. I mean, there's Gordon Lightfoot and Don McLean and Bob Dylan, and the list goes on and on of singer-songwriters back then. I'm just saying there was always, to me, something, I always thought those three songs, and I don't know if it's because the people, well, obviously because James Taylor and Carly Simon wound up married. I don't know if it's because of that connection that I make, but for some reason I always just put those three songs in a little group together as just being sort of the most special of the most special for that time frame there in the singer-songwriter movement. Those songs, man, you can hear Fire and Rain and It's Too Late. And these Carly Simon songs, you can hear these songs 100 times. And if you really dial it in and pay attention, man, you'll find something great and deep and wonderful every single time. They just never, ever get old. Carly Simon, man, that goes all the way back there, 1971. That's the way I've always heard it should be, her first record. And yeah, man, she goes on that tear with all those great songs and wow, lays down quite a track record for herself with all those great hits. They're all so memorable. They're all so well done. And she sings the hell out of all of them. And Carly Simon, I think just this last year, finally gets into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Wasn't that just this year? Or has it been a little while since she did that? Seems just long overdue, doesn't it? Kind of ridiculously long overdue. Carly Simon will be coming back to Carly a little later in her career because, man, when she came back on the scene back there in 1987, I think it was, with that album Coming Around Again, there she was again doing it all over, updating the whole vibe that she had so articulately commented on back in the early 70s. It was great to have her back on the scene in the late 80s, and there was some great material on that album, and we will definitely get to some of that later on, in addition to some of the other ones that I named here on this list of her huge hits from the first phase of her career. Carly Simon, one of a kind, man. What a voice and what a spirit. Quite the spirited gal, isn't she? Carly Simon. Man, there's some lyrics in that song, aren't there? Holy cow. Ooh-wee.